All right, let's get into the fan Q&A. So before we get into the fan Q&A, a little disclaimer. If things are different this week, it's because I had to do 2 videos today, and the first video I did took a very, very long time. I wanted to make sure I got the first one right. So this is going to be a little bit different than every other week. Remember, guys, if I don't get your questions in this video, I will answer them in the Miami Dolphins podcast. So this first question comes from Anderson. He says, what do you think about the corners in the game? A lot of open receivers. You're absolutely correct. There were a lot of open receivers, and it had nothing to do with the talent level. It had a lot to do with miscommunication on the back end. Nobody on that defense was communicating right. There was a lot of missed assignments, and when I say missed assignments, just people were not communicating, hey, you're him, you get, number 12, I got number 13. Nobody was saying that, nobody was communicating, and it really, really hurt the defense the entire day, especially in the passing game. And that's the only thing that we really let up, because the defensive line performed so well that the running game for them was non-existent. And that was the number one thing we had to stop. The passing game, it was insane because of miscommunication. Had nothing to really do with talent. It was the mental side of football. Now, was it due to rust? I don't think so, because we saw this in the preseason. We saw this last year on the Miami Dolphins defense. So this has been a common theme through not just this game, but for like a year and a half now. So hopefully they get this fixed. I think it's due to the lack of a quarterback on this defense. I think we need somebody who gets everybody in the right places, who makes sure, holds people accountable, gets everybody in the right assignments, make sure everybody's communicating, and, not to knock on Byron Maxwell, because, everybody knocks on Byron Maxwell, but he just mentally did not have a good game. He was not communicating well with his other members in the secondary. There was one particular play that I bring up in the preview video. You guys can go back and watch, if you go back and watch the game, where he just did not tell Rashad Jones that he was going to take Hunter Henry. And Rashad was literally, I don't know if he vocally spoke to him, but you knew he was upset about something pre-snap, and he just wasn't communicating. So it wasn't the talent. It was more along the lines of just the mental aspect of the football game. So hopefully when Lawrence comes back, nobody really knows why he went MIA. But hopefully we can figure that out pretty soon. But I think it's just mental. Hopefully that was the worst I've ever seen it. Hopefully that was because of inexperience with playing each other and not having played. They haven't played with each other in a very, very long time. One thing I did notice in that Philadelphia Eagles game is that when Lawrence Timmons was on the football field, the communication was going. Everybody seemed to be in the right places. The defense just looked really good, and in this game, it just didn't seem like they were communicating well, especially on the back end. Now Lawrence can't communicate everything on the back end. A lot of that has to do with Rashad and Nate and Byron. But even if you did have like a Bobby Wagner on your defense, you still have to communicate with each other. And hopefully we see more of that as these players play with each other. But Byron and Rashad, they haven't played together a lot, even though Byron's been on the team more than a year and a half now. So again, maybe it's chemistry. I don't know what it is, but the mental aspect of the game and communication is so bad on the back end of the defense right now, that hopefully Lawrence can fix it in some way, communicate the defense a little bit better, get everybody out. But when you make adjustments, it's not even like the first play call. It's just adjusting on defense it's terrible right now. We cannot make adjustments we can't execute adjustments at all right now. So that needs to be cleaned up. So I think Anderson, what it has to do with is more mental than it is physical. This question comes from Brandon. He says, how do you think Jay Cutler looked, and do you think he will get better? So I think Jay Cutler had a really, really good performance for what it was and for what we wanted out of Jay Cutler. I think all Dolphins fans want him to just manage the game, use his veteran knowledge to really command the huddle and get really good checks at the line, really audible at the line, change plays, read defenses, and stuff of that nature. Use your knowledge to your advantage. And I think we really saw that on Sunday. He really commanded the huddle. He commanded the pace. And again, he doesn't have to do too much. We don't want him to do too much. We don't want him to have to think he has to push the ball down the field, or he has the entire game is on his shoulders for like most of his career in Chicago. That's what people expected out of him. He just has to manage the game. He just has to let the talent come to him. Let them make the plays. Let them push the ball down the football field. And that's exactly what he did. He was the point guard of the offense. He got the ball into his playmakers' hands. He was efficient. His ball placement was really nice. And it was awesome. I think in the first half he was 9 for 10. Maybe it was in the first quarter. He was 9 for 10 for 55 yards. That is as efficient gets. And the thing about Jay Cutler, and not to put this game manager label on him, because he's not a game manager. He definitely has the talent to make great plays because of his football instincts and because of his arm, and we saw that on Sunday. But that's all we need him to do, is let the game come to him, manage the game, and put our playmakers in the right positions to make plays. And that's exactly what he did, and that's what the quarterback position is for. And I really thought, again, he dictated the pace really nice. He not only did he go no huddle, but he switched to huddle, and it was a very seamless transition, which I really, really liked. So he did everything you want a quarterback to do on Sunday. I think some of the things that people are upset about is the red zone, because we got in the red zone a lot on Sunday, but we didn't finish, and a lot of that had to do with play calling. And I'm not saying that the play calls were terrible, but I think we got to run the football more down there. And I know we didn't execute some of the passing plays, and Jay Cutler, maybe more of a touch pass on that play to Juice Landry in the back of the end zone. Maybe he makes that grab. So not all on play calling. There were some, that was a misplay. Maybe if you give him more of a touch. I would have to go back and look at that play, though. But I think some of the play calling, I would have rathered us run the ball more down in the red zone, because it was so effective on game day. We were so dominant in the running game and run blocking that I wish we kind of would have ran it more on first down instead of passing on first down, incomplete, then running it on second down. So it's not all on Jay Cutler. But yeah, obviously I think people look at Jay Cutler like, oh, why didn't we finish more? Especially since most of them were passing plays. I'm not going to say it's all on Jay Cutler, and I'm not saying Adam Gase called bad plays. I'm just saying, I would have rather ran it a little bit more down in the red zone. So I think that's why, I guess that's why a Dolphins fan could look at it that way. But I thought, other than that, I thought Jay Cutler had a really, really nice performance, a really, really good performance. And again, going back to, he's not just a game manager. He made plays when he needed to make them. The most notable play was the touchdown to Kenny Stills. He stepped up into the pocket. You saw the pocket presence there. The tackles did a good job of making sure the pass rushers went all the way around him, so he got to step up into a very nice pocket. Really good pass blocking on the interior of the offensive line, so he could step up into the pocket. So a beautiful job by the offensive line. And then Jay Cutler notices that, steps up into the pocket, finds the open pocket there, steps up to his right, finds Kenny Stills for the touchdown. That's all pocket presence. He did that multiple other times in the game. The pass to Devontae Parker, where he stepped up into the pocket and rolled out. So there were a couple plays where Jay Cutler really he was a playmaker. And so I really liked his performance. I thought it was an all-around really good one, and he did everything you want out of a quarterback. So hopefully we get this Jay Cutler for the rest of the year, because he looked like a franchise quarterback to me on Sunday. This question comes from Ronald. He says, how would you rate Byron Maxwell's performance against the LA Chargers? I would give him a very low grade. And a tip of the cap to the Chargers. They did a really good job of putting him in awkward situations, somehow getting him to line up over the slot receiver, putting him in weird adjustment situations. They did a really good job. Byron did a very bad job of getting out of those situations and making sure he got everybody in the right spot because of those awkward formations and those awkward spots that the defense was put in. He did a bad job of communicating what was going on. And I would give him a very low grade for that. And because of that, there was a lot of busted coverages, and there was a lot of big plays. And Byron put himself in bad scenarios. Not only did he put himself in bad scenarios, but he put his teammates in bad situations as well. So because of that, I would give Byron a very low grade. I thought, if he was, again, a tip of the cap to the Chargers. They did a really good job in their game plan. They did a lot of interesting things and a lot of weird things to put Byron Maxwell in those situations. But Byron is a veteran corner. And he needs to, if it was a younger corner, if that was Xavier doing that, then I would understand why. But as a veteran corner of Byron Maxwell's status, and Byron's a very good corner. I know people love to hate on him. Dolphins fans don't really like him, but he had a great end of the season last year, and he's had a great career overall. Other than that 1 year in Philadelphia, that was like only his only bad, all-around bad year. So Byron's a really good player, but just that, for his performance on Sunday, it was just weird to see that. It was really, really weird. hopefully some of those things get cleaned up. Byron needs to do a way better job of communicating what's going on and making sure his teammates know who he's going to take. And it's just simple stuff like that. And again, a tip of the cap to the Chargers. They did a good job of putting our team in a lot of awkward situations, and we just did not do a good job adjusting to those specific formations. So other than that, I thought Byron, he's always struggled against smaller, quicker receivers who are great route runners and are quick, and obviously Keenan Allen. There was a couple plays there where he read him a book on how to run her out. So that that there was those. Other than that, I thought Byron I don't know. It was just a weird game. I would give him a low grade if I had to give him a grade, I guess. It was one of his worst performances as a Fin, I will say that. And it wasn't for like the obvious, oh, he just can't cover that guy. It was just stupid mental mistakes that you would think a veteran corner, would know how to do. Like, I don't know. Who knows? Hopefully they fix this stuff. They fix this communication problem. And a lot of that had to do with Byron. Byron just did a bad job all game of communicating what was going on. This question comes from Fred. He says, we drove down the field just fine today. It was our red zone offense we had trouble with today. What do you think about Julius Thomas? Can he be the guy like he was in Denver for us? Not a lot of plays were called for Julius in the red zone. Devontae Parker was on a hot streak, and I understand why Adam called that fade route to him in the end zone there. I think that was on first down, if I'm not mistaken. Again, like I said many times already, would rather us run the football in those situations because of how dominant we were. And again, not a lot of play. And even if we didn't run it, at least line up under center to give the delusion that you're running the football. Lining up in the shotgun or lining up in the empty set, it's obvious what you're gonna do. You're gonna pass the football. So hopefully we do clean some of those things up. I know that DP was on fire, and maybe, again, a better pass, maybe a touch pass. I'd have to go back and look at the play, but maybe a better pass there gets that touchdown to Juice Landry in the back. But I think play calling, it comes down to why the red zone woes, like you bring up, Julius Thomas. Like, I don't think it was, the reason, it wasn't like Julius Thomas was running bad routes. It's having a bad performance by any means, but it was just play calling. His number wasn't called in the red zone, and you can understand from Adam's perspective, the Devontae Parker just mossed Casey Hayward. He was on Williams, which is, I think, their, like, fourth string corner, because Jason Verrett wasn't playing, and then, obviously, I think Casey got hurt at one point. So he was on a backup corner. So of course you would call a fade to Devontae Parker. It wasn't a bad play call. I'm not saying these were bad play calls, but obviously it may have been pass interference. I'm not gonna, I thought it was pass interference at the time, but I think it comes down to play calling more than anything. I think hopefully, some of those things are just bounce our way more often than not. I don't think it had to do with anything with execution or anything like that. Most of the plays were, most of the plays I just think were interesting calls that were risks that just did not pay off. Is basically, I guess, the best way you can put it. But I would look for Julius Thomas's number to be called a whole lot more throughout the year. I just don't think his number was called all that much in the red zone. This question comes from the Dill Pickle. What player do you think played the best on Sunday? It's so tough because I thought Mike Pouncey had an otherworldly performance. I thought Jay had a great performance. I thought Sue had a tremendous performance. He might actually take it for me just because he really dominated and crushed their game plan, like literally wrecked their game plan. They really were trying to see Melvin Gordon, especially in between the tackles, which is really, obviously we were on a wide 9 defense, and that's how a lot of teams have been attacking our front, is just running draws up the middle and delay running plays up the middle. And Sue was having none of that. Sue was absolutely having none of that. He completely wrecked their game plan. So I think Sue had a great game, and obviously Mike Pouncey was tremendous. He was flying around. I mean, if you thought that hip was gonna, those hip injuries, he lost a little little something, little mustard off the handle, he's lost nothing. He looked amazing out there on Sunday. And, if that isn't proof that we're a better offense with Mike on the field, I don't know what is. I don't think anybody ever doubted that, but there is a drastic difference when you have an all-pro center on your team and then when you don't. So it was really, Mike had, again, what a, coming back party for Mike Pouncey. So he also had a great performance. Jay obviously had a tremendous performance, as he always has and always will. He's a superstar running back in this league. He's one of the best running backs in the NFL. He's probably, right now, he's the best AFC running back. You could go with Kareem Hunt, who's as the best AFC running back right now, and I would be totally fine with that if that's what you. I'm talking about so far this season. Le'Veon Bell has been pretty much non-existent so far this season because he's missed training camp and he missed his entire offseason basically. So right now, 1A and 1B, or just 1A, two 1As is Kareem Hunt and Jay Ajayi. So, all three of those guys, if they could all just split that reward up, that would be amazing. But again, I thought Jay had a tremendous game. Sue probably had his best game as a Fin. And who am I missing here? Jay, Mike, and Sue. Those would be my three. Honorable mentions: Will Hayes. Who else? Devontae Parker, Kenny Stills, Juice Landry. I thought Jarvis had a really good. He had 13 catches. So he had an amazing game. So if I had to give it to somebody, I'd probably split it between Mike, Sue, and Jay. This question comes from This is Patrick. He says, how was Nate Allen and Rashad Jones? I thought Nate Allen had an okay performance. He had an up and down performance. There were some plays where Hunter Henry just beat him in man. So he had some coverage errors, but that play, again, against Travis Benjamin is such a tough play as a safety. When the ball is that high in the air and it's coming down and you're one-on-one with the receiver, more often than not, the receiver comes down with that ball. So Nate Allen, just getting that away from the receiver, batting it down, great performance by, just great play by him. So I thought he had an up and down performance. He had some good and some bad, but all around I thought it was a good okay performance. And Rashad Jones, I thought he played like Rashad Jones. He was physical in the tackle box. He didn't get a lot of hands on balls. He wasn't in passing lanes as much as he usually is, and I think that had more to do with the communication on the back end than anything. Other than that, though, I thought Rashad had a Rashad performance. Nothing special. But obviously Nate Allen was the biggest question mark going into that game, and whether or not he could hold his own and how he would perform. Would he be an asset or would he be a detriment to the defense? And I thought he played amazing. Not amazing. I'm crazy tired right now. I thought, he had some good plays. He had some bad plays. So, yeah. I thought Nate Allen had an up and down performance. But, again, it was better than I thought. Again, he made plays on the ball. It wasn't like he had a bad game, but he struggled in coverage at times against one of the better tight ends in the league in Hunter Henry, and one of the better quarterbacks in terms of ball placement in the league as well. So I was pleased with his performance. I'm not mad at it. I didn't think it really was a difference maker in the game at all. So again, good performance by Nate. And Rashad was Rashad. He didn't get it again. It wasn't a Rashad performance. It wasn't like he dominated the game. He had 10 tackles, 2 pass deflections, and a pick. It was a more silent Rashad game. But I thought he had a good game. He made that great open field tackle against Brandon Oliver in the open field. So Rashad did his job. I thought he was physical and he looked fast as well. Obviously coming off that shoulder injury, it looks like that shoulder is just fine. This question comes from Cody. He says, do you think Cody Parkey is an upgrade from Andrew Franks, or does he still have more to prove? No, I think he has nothing more to prove at all. When you saw what he did, and obviously the question marks going into the game, is he a clutch kicker? Because the kid, when you watch him, he's got a lot of leg talent. And he displayed that. That was on full display on Sunday. But the question mark is, does he choke under pressure? And obviously he got to show us in his first game as a kicker, which I think was very scary for me, and I almost had a heart attack, him lining up for a 54-yarder and just nailing it. Do I need to say more? The problem with Andrew was his leg talent was poor. On kickoffs you saw that. And in kicks, you saw that too. When he made that 50, was it close to a 50-yarder in Buffalo? Pretty sure that was a 50-yarder. It was such a low kick. I mean, I still don't know how that went in. I mean, we were blessed that that went in. Let's put it that way. So yeah, I think Cody is a definite upgrade to his talent level. And again, like I said, the question marks going into with him going into this game and going into the regular season is not can he kick, because he shows that on tape, but does he fold under pressure? And weirdly and oddly enough, we got to see that on Sunday's first game, and he nailed it. So no, there are no, me personally, I have no more question marks for him. It seems like he was clutch. He was ice in his veins, and he scored a lot of points for us on Sunday because we weren't very good in the red zone. So he was efficient. He wasn't, missed one here, made one there. So yeah, I think all the question marks have been answered for me. This question comes from Alec Jeffrey. He says, based on this game, what are your thoughts on the linebacker play without Timmons? It was better than I thought it was going to be, especially against the run. I mean, the run defense to me was a surprise. I did not expect it to be as good as it was, and not to have Timmons out there and for it to be as effective as it was is a really good sign, and it shows that we have depth on this football team. And it shows that Chase Allen has a future in this league. It's going to be interesting to see what he develops into. I'm super excited about that. Obviously, Kiko had a good solid game. Mike Hull did not have the greatest game in the world in pass protection, but he definitely had a decent game in the run game, and that's been a question mark of his as well as in between the tackles. So if Lawrence was there, protection or pass defense would have been better with our linebacker core. Obviously Lawrence Timmons is a better athlete than Mike Hull is, and he's a better tackler in open space, so that would have been improved. A defense in I guess Melvin Gordon in the passing game, I think that would have been better. And I think communication would have been better. I think overall the defense is better with Lawrence Timmons on it for a lot of different reasons. It's weird. I don't know why he missed the game. I don't know why he was missing. It's a very weird situation. But we should be happy, and it should be a good sign that even without Lawrence Timmons, our linebacker core can get the job done in the running game. Not so much in the passing game. There's still question marks there. Maybe we switch around the lineup a little bit with maybe move Mike around or just replace Mike with maybe Justin March-Lillard. We'll see what happens there. But I think Lawrence Timmons does make the linebacker core better, but it was nice to see our linebacker core step up to the challenge. Alright, so that's going to be it for this week's Miami Dolphins Fan Q&A. I know it was super short. That is because I had to do another video today. Hopefully that you like both videos. Hope you guys enjoyed it. I know that it's shorter, and I know that I did get a lot of questions in, and there's so many more questions that I have to answer in the podcast, which just makes for a better podcast, so it's not all that bad. And if you guys are disappointed, I apologize. If anybody's questions I missed, I will answer in the Miami Dolphins podcast. So that is going to be it, guys. I am Skagster83, and I hope you guys enjoyed this video. And go check out the channel if you want more Dolphins content, and I will see you guys in the next one.